For generations, the Hebrew people endured harsh bondage in ancient Egypt, their cries for freedom unheard under Pharaoh's mighty rule. God commanded Moses to confront Pharaoh by the river at dawn, carrying the rod that had turned into a serpent. Moses was to deliver God's message, "Let my people go, to serve me in the wilderness. You have not listened." God declared, "Through this, you will know I am Yahweh. I will strike the river with my rod, and its waters will turn to blood. The fish would die, the river would become foul, and Egyptians would loathe drinking its water." God then instructed Moses to tell Aaron to stretch his rod over all Egyptian waters, transforming them into blood. Moses and Aaron obeyed. Moses lifted his rod and struck the river before Pharaoh and his servants. Instantly, all the water in the river turned to blood. The river's fish died, the water turned foul, and Egyptians could not drink, as blood spread throughout the land. Egyptian magicians replicated this feat with their enchantments, yet Pharaoh's heart remained hardened. Pharaoh turned and went into his house, utterly unconcerned by the plague. All the Egyptians desperately dug around the riverbanks, searching for drinkable water. 7 full days passed after the river had been struck. God again commanded Moses to tell Pharaoh, "Let my people go, or I will plague your borders with frogs." The river would swarm with frogs, invading homes, bedrooms, ovens, and even covering people. God instructed Moses to tell Aaron to stretch his hand with the rod over Egypt's waters, bringing forth frogs. Aaron stretched his hand over the waters, and frogs swarmed forth, covering all of Egypt. The Egyptian magicians also conjured frogs with their enchantments, adding to the infestation. Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron, pleading, "Entreat God to remove these frogs, and I will let the people go." Moses offered Pharaoh the honor of setting the time for his prayer to destroy the frogs. Pharaoh replied, "Tomorrow." Moses affirmed, promising the frogs would remain only in the river. Moses and Aaron departed from Pharaoh, and Moses cried out to God concerning the frogs. God acted on Moses' word. Frogs died in houses, courtyards, and fields. Egyptians gathered the dead frogs into huge piles, and the land reeked terribly. But seeing the respite, Pharaoh hardened his heart again and refused to listen, just as God had predicted. God commanded Moses to tell Aaron, "Stretch out your rod and strike the dust, that it may become lice throughout Egypt." Aaron struck the dust of the earth with his rod, and lice infested every person and animal in Egypt. The magicians attempted to produce lice with their enchantments, but they failed. Lice covered everyone. The magicians confessed to Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God," yet Pharaoh's heart remained hardened. God instructed Moses to warn Pharaoh, "Release the people, or swarms of flies would plague Egypt, filling homes." God declared he would set apart Goshen, where his people dwelled, sparing it from flies to demonstrate his power. Indeed, grievous swarms of flies infested Pharaoh's house, his servants' homes, and corrupted all Egypt. Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron, proposing, "Go sacrifice to your God, but only here in the land." Moses explained they must journey 3 days into the wilderness to sacrifice, to avoid being stoned by Egyptians. Pharaoh conceded, allowing them to go into the wilderness, but not too far, and asked Moses to pray for him. Moses agreed to pray, but warned Pharaoh not to deceive them again by refusing to let the people go. Moses departed from Pharaoh and prayed to God. God answered Moses' prayer, removing all the swarms of flies from Pharaoh, his servants, and his people. Yet again, Pharaoh hardened his heart and refused to let the people go. God commanded Moses to warn Pharaoh of a grievous pestilence striking Egyptian livestock, sparing Israel's. God appointed a specific time. "Tomorrow, this will happen in the land." The next day, all Egyptian livestock died, while not one Israelite animal perished. Pharaoh investigated and found no Israelite livestock dead, but his heart remained stubborn. He refused to release them. God instructed Moses and Aaron to take handfuls of furnace ashes, which Moses would sprinkle towards the sky. They stood before Pharaoh. Moses sprinkled the ashes skyward, causing painful boils to erupt on people and animals. The Egyptian magicians themselves suffered from boils and could not stand before Moses. God hardened Pharaoh's heart, so he again refused to listen to Moses and Aaron. God commanded Moses to warn Pharaoh of unprecedented hail, unlike any Egypt had ever known. Moses relayed God's instruction for all livestock and people in the fields to immediately seek shelter. Some of Pharaoh's servants, fearing God's word, quickly brought their people and livestock indoors. Others, who disregarded the warning, left their servants and animals exposed in the fields. God then commanded Moses to stretch his hand toward the sky, unleashing hail upon all Egypt. Moses raised his rod to the heavens. Thunder, hail, and lightning struck, raining down on Egypt. The hail was incredibly severe, a storm unlike any seen in Egypt since it became a nation. Hail struck everyone and everything in the fields. People, animals, every herb, and broke every tree. Remarkably, in the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel lived, there was no hail at all. Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron, confessing, "I have sinned. God is righteous. My people and I are wicked." He pleaded, "Pray to God to stop the thunder and hail. I will let you go. You shall stay no longer." Moses agreed to pray, but warned Pharaoh that he and his servants still did not fear God. The flax and barley crops were destroyed because they were in bloom and in ear. However, the wheat and spelt were not damaged, as they had not yet grown up. Moses left the city, spread his hands to God, and the thunder, hail, and rain immediately ceased. But seeing the storm had ceased, Pharaoh and his servants sinned again, hardening their hearts further. Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he refused to let the children of Israel go, as God had predicted. God revealed his purpose, to harden Pharaoh's heart to display wonders, so future generations would know him. Moses and Aaron confronted Pharaoh, demanding, "How long will you refuse to humble yourself? Let my people go." Otherwise, Moses warned, tomorrow an unprecedented locust plague would cover the earth, devouring all remaining vegetation. Pharaoh's servants, seeing Egypt's destruction, urged him, "How long will this man be a snare? Let them go." Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh, who asked, "Go, serve your God, but who will go?" Moses insisted, "We will go with young and old, sons and daughters, flocks and herds. We must hold a feast." Pharaoh angrily refused to let the children and livestock go, driving Moses and Aaron from his presence. God commanded Moses to stretch his hand over Egypt for the locusts to come and devour all leftover vegetation. Moses stretched his rod. God sent an east wind all day and night, bringing locusts by morning. Locusts covered all Egypt, a grievous swarm unlike any before or since. They darkened the earth, eating every herb and fruit left by the hail, leaving nothing green. Pharaoh hastily summoned Moses and Aaron, confessing, "I have sinned against God and you. Forgive me." He pleaded, "Pray to your God to remove this death from me." Moses departed from Pharaoh and prayed to God. God sent a powerful west wind that swept all the locusts into the Red Sea, leaving none in Egypt. But God hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he still refused to let the children of Israel go. God told Moses, "Stretch out your hand towards the sky, that there may be a darkness over Egypt, darkness which may be felt." Moses stretched his hand skyward, and a thick darkness enveloped all Egypt for 3 days. People couldn't see each other or move for 3 days, but Israelites had light in their dwellings. Pharaoh called Moses, offering, "Go serve God, but leave your flocks and herds behind. Your little ones may go." Moses insisted, "Our livestock must go for sacrifices, not a hoof shall be left, as we don't know what we need." But God hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he still would not let them go. Pharaoh furiously warned Moses, "Get away from me. See my face no more, or you will die." Moses replied, "You have spoken well. I will see your face again no more." God told Moses of one final plague that would make Pharaoh expel the Israelites entirely. God also granted the people favor with Egyptians, and Moses was greatly respected by all. Moses then announced God's decree. Around midnight, all firstborn in Egypt would die, from Pharaoh's heir to servants and livestock. There would be an unparalleled cry of anguish, yet no dog would bark against the Israelites. Moses predicted Pharaoh's servants would bow down, begging them to leave, and then he departed in hot anger. God affirmed Pharaoh's refusal would allow his wonders to multiply in Egypt. Moses and Aaron performed all these wonders, but God hardened Pharaoh's heart, preventing Israel's release. At midnight, God struck all the firstborn throughout Egypt, from the Pharaoh's son to the captives' firstborn and livestock. Pharaoh, his servants, and all Egyptians rose in the night. A great cry arose from every house where death visited. By night, Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron, commanding them and the Israelites to rise, depart, and serve God. He ordered them to take their flocks and herds as they had demanded, adding, "And bless me also." The Egyptians urgently pressed the people to leave the land in haste, fearing they would all die. The Israelites took their unleavened dough, binding their kneading troughs in their clothes on their shoulders. Following Moses' instructions, the children of Israel requested jewels of silver, gold, and clothing from the Egyptians. God granted them favor. Egyptians willingly gave what was asked, effectively enriching the Israelites. About 600,000 Israelite men on foot, besides children, traveled from Ramses to Succoth. A mixed multitude, along with extensive flocks and herds, also left Egypt with them. They baked unleavened cakes from their dough, having been thrust out of Egypt too quickly to prepare food. The children of Israel had lived in Egypt for a total of 430 years. Precisely 430 years later, to the very day, God's people marched out from the land of Egypt. This night, when God led them from Egypt, became a perpetual observance for all Israelite generations.